Hi guys, and welcome back. Today I'm gonna talk about sign diagrams, and sign diagrams are used when we usually only need to know if the function is positive or if the function is negative, zero, or undefined. And the sign diagram does consist of horizontal line, so that's like horizontal line like this. So, and some positive and negative signs, like positive, negative signs, and positive sign indicates that the graph is above x-axis, and negative signs indicates that the graph is below x-axis. Also, the sign diagram consists of to draw the sign diagram, we do need critical values. So, and there are zeros of the function. So when the function is equal to 0, which are the x-intercepts, and point where the function is not defined, so where the function doesn't exist. On the next slide here, what I have done, I have few pre-drawn graphs. So the first one here, so we can see that this graph is touching x-axis. So it's touching x-axis, and this is going to be our critical value. So, and I'm just going to, on my sign diagram, so I'm just going to write number 3. And you can see here, this line here, x horizontal line. So that is, the line that we're going to use to draw a sign diagram. Now, the next step, what we're going to look at, we're going to look if the graph before this critical value of 3 is above x-axis or is it below. And after 3, is it below or is it above x-axis? And as we have seen before, if it's above x-axis, then it's positive. So we're just going to have here positive sign. And then same here, after 3, it's above x-axis, and therefore it's going to be positive sign. Now the next one here, it's a little bit different. So this graph is cutting x-axis twice, when x is equal to -2 and when x is equal to 3. So those two values are our critical values now, and I'm just gonna write here on the sign diagram -2, label, and 3. And the next step now is again to have a look at the graph, so and see what's happening before -2. Before -2, graph is below x-axis. Between -2 and 3 is above, so it will be positive. And then after 3 is below, so the sign is going to be negative. So we said before, -2, it's below, so it's going to be negative. So between 2 and 3, it's above, so that's going to be positive. And below, and after 3 is below x-axis, that's going to be negative. Okay, that's another sign diagram. So not that hard. The next one that we have here, again, it's a little bit different. So, and we can see that this graph is cutting x-axis 3 times. So we do have 3 critical values here, and I'm just gonna label them on the sign on the horizontal axis, -2, then we have 2, and then have 5. And same as before, so again we're looking what's happening. So before -2, graph is below x-axis, which means it is negative. Between -2 and 2, it is above x-axis, that's going to give us positive. And between 2 and 5, it's below x-axis, that is going to give us negative. And after 5 here, it's above x-axis, and that is going to be positive. So the next one, so again, we're going to look, for some critical values, if this graph is cutting x-axis or not defined. So what we can see here, it's cutting x-axis when x is equal to -1. So I'm just going to label here -1. And before -1 graph is below x-axis, and that is now what? Negative, that's correct. And after -1, what's happening here? It is above x-axis, and that is going to be what sign? Yes, positive, about above x-axis. And we have one more slide with two more graphs. So let's have a look at the first one here. So, oops, what is this? So can't see this graph cutting x-axis at all. Okay, so it's a little bit different, so not cutting x-axis. But if I can zoom in this, and if I have drawn better graph, we would be able to see that this line is approaching y-axis closely, so close, but it's never gonna touch it. And same would happen on this end. As y is getting bigger, this graph is approaching y, but it's never gonna touch it. So, and we can see that at this point here, x is equal to 0. So we can see as x is approaching 0, y is getting closer to y, but it's never touching it. And same on this side here. So it does look like that graph is not, this function is not defined for x equal to 0. And you have seen before that we have mentioned something about not being defined. So, and when it's not defined, so we're going to use this notation like this lines for 0. Okay, so function is not defined for x equal to 0. And now everything else is the same. So looking, okay, what's happening here before 0? Graph is below x-axis. That is going to be negative. Yes, you're right. And after that one, so what's happening here? After here, so 0 is above x-axis, and that will be what? Positive. Yes, you are right. Well done. So, one more. So, this one, it does look a little bit more complex, so we're just going to observe or talk about this a little bit more. Okay, let's have a look. What's happening here? So, we can see here that this graph is cutting x-axis when x is equal to 2. Okay, let's label that. So, x equal to 2. And we can see here when where x is equal to 1, that graph is getting closer to x equal to 1, but it's never gonna touch it. And same is happening from the left side. So it's getting closer, so it's approaching x equal to 1, but it's never gonna touch it. So it does look like that at this point graph is not defined. Okay, so when x is equal to 1, graph is not defined. Now, next step is just to have a look what's happening before 1. Before 1, graph is above x-axis, just there. So it's above, so and therefore is what? Positive. So, well done. And now between 1 and 2, let's have a look what's happening here. Between 1 and 2, it does look like, and actually it is, below x-axis. So that's going to be negative. And then after 2, what's happening after 2? After 2, it is above x-axis. And so therefore, it's going to be positive. And that would be all for this topic. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.